Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are MC.
The Royals defense continues to turn heads, and last night Alcides Escobar set the tone with the very first out of the game. The Royals were turning double plays. They were throwing runners out from the outfield and blocking runners at the plate. And in the ninth inning, diving to save a 5-4 win. Game 3 with the Indians is next on Fox Sports Kansas City. Luke Hochevar is coming off back-to-back wins and his best start of the season. Tonight, he will try to pitch the Royals into a first-place tie in the American League Central Division as the Royals have 2 more games remaining in this series with the Cleveland Indians. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Kauffman Stadium with Royals Hall of Famer Frank White. I'm Ryan Lefevre. The Royals have the second-best record in the American League, tied for the second-best record, and it takes more than one man to accomplish that. But if there's one man that has stood above the rest, it's Alex Gordon.
Ryan, I tell you, when you go back to spring training, anybody who thought spring training was a fluke can really go in a different direction right now. Alex Gordon, in my opinion, is for real.
So you're answering a question then that this is not just a hot streak for Alex Gordon. There's more than that.
Well, a lot of times you got a young player, and it's hard for those guys to realize when it's time to make a change. But this offseason, Alex decided to buy what Kevin Slicer was selling, and is paying dividends right now.
And the result, Alex is all over the leaderboard. First in base hits in the league, second in runs scored, and fifth in both batting average and RBIs. And then down at the bottom there, we have to remember, he's also having an excellent year on defense.
Well, Ryan, he's really picked up left field very well. And you look at the way he plays out there, his defense is very tight. He has good range. He gets off the ground. His throwing accuracy and release time is very good. So Alex has made the transition to the outfield seamless.
So a good start for the Royals' first-round pick in 05, and a good start for the Royals' first-round pick in 06. And Luke Hochevar is coming off a great start last time out. We'll talk more about that when we come back. The Missouri Lottery. When you play, students win. And by Southwest Airlines' new Rapid Rewards. Unlimited reward seats and no blackout dates. The last time Luke Hochevar pitched, he gave up a base hit to the first hitter, Ichiro Suzuki. Didn't give up another hit the rest of the night.
Well, Ryan, that's a good sign that Luke Hochevar is really maturing and getting better as a starting pitcher. When you look at these numbers, it shows how he's getting better every start. And the thing that I like about what I see with Luke is that the walks are down and the strikeouts are up.
The lineup he will face tonight includes Shin-Soo Choo. He's not done much in this series. He hasn't done much this season, but don't tell Luke that.
Well, that's true. Luke might be catching Shin-Soo Choo at the wrong time and at the right time. So we got to see going into tonight's game because Choo is 11 for 17 career versus Luke Hochevar.
And the rest of the Indians batting order presented by Southwest Airlines. Grady Sizemore and Travis Hafner were not in the starting lineup last night against Bruce Chen. They're back in there tonight. And left-hand hitting Jack Hanahan also back in the lineup at third base. So Luke Hochevar's off to a good start. Justin Masterson is off to a better start. He's trying to win his fourth consecutive start tonight. It's the Royals and the Indians, and the first pitch is next. Definition brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Get no-fee HD with digital TV from Time Warner Cable. Out to left field tonight, and here's Joel.
Well, Ryan, we saw that sort of strange sight last night. Joe West talking to a cop and a couple of the managers out there. We thought, what was going on? Well, it was all related to the bullpen. Now, first off, Blake Wood got up, started throwing about 5 pitches. The bullpen phones were out. So Alex Gordon ended up looking back and saying, they don't want you, they want Tex. So Kaneko Teixeira got up and threw 10 pitches. Well, that's not what they wanted, so that's why the cops came out there, and they were radioing in. And so then Blake Wood sums it up best, saying, that's when the authorities got involved. And he suddenly hears his name on the police officer walkie-talkie. They want Wood, they want Wood. So Blake Wood ends up getting up. He says first time he's heard his name mentioned from the cops. That is what was happening last night, a phone malfunction in the bullpen. Guys?
So not as exciting as we thought it was, Frank.
Not quite. We thought it was something a lot worse than that,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Start number 5 for Luke Hochevar. And in his last 2 starts, he's gone at least 7 innings. And he pitched a gem on Friday against the Seattle Mariners. The Royals bullpen struggled late in the game, but they hung on, so Luke could pick up his 2nd win of the year. And in that game, Hochevar gave up a game-opening double to Ichiro Suzuki, who eventually came around to score. But Luke would not give up another run. He would not give up another hit the rest of the night. Ball 1 to Grady Sizemore.
Well, Ryan, that was a game where Luke had command of 3 pitches. He had his fastball, his curveball, and his slider working. And you have 3 pitches working in a game. That's great for a starting pitcher.
Escobar is out. Alex right behind him. 1 away. Wouldn't say it's warm, but it's a lot more pleasant tonight than it was last night. It is 11 degrees warmer, a lot less wind. Game started at 7:11, and the time and temp is brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. One strike on Asdrubal Cabrera. So let's see if this is a sign of things to come for the Cleveland Indians tonight. Both Grady Sizemore and Cabrera swinging at the first strike. And swinging at the second strike. And it's Francoeur headed towards the right field corner. 2 outs in the air for Hochevar. Here are the Royals defensively, presented by Ram Trucks. Gordon, Cabrera, Francoeur in the outfield. Mike Aviles is at third base tonight with Escobar, Getz, and Kaihue. Matt Trainer is behind the plate. So Luke gave up that 1 run in the first inning to Seattle, and then he really got on a roll. He retired 16 in a row, and to finish 21 of 22. It was a cold, rainy, windy night. That was the game when Tim Collins and Joakim Soria came on in the 9th inning to protect what was then a big lead. But because of the harsh conditions, they both had difficulty gripping the ball, and as a result, throwing strikes. And the game ended on a line drive to third to Mike Aviles with the tying run at third base. And now Chu goes after the first strike, and he strokes it to right field. Francoeur runs it down, and Hochevar gets through the Indians with 7 pitches. Southwest Airlines. Chris Getz, Melky Cabrera, Alex Gordon, Billy Butler, Jeff Francoeur, Mike Aviles at third base. Wilson Betemit is not in the lineup. Hila Kaihue batting seventh again with Matt Trainer and Alcides Escobar behind him. Justin Masterson, 3-0, a 1.33 earned run average. He has not allowed more than one earned run in each of his first three starts. Here's the defense behind him tonight, presented by Ram Trucks. Jack Hanahan back at third base, Matt Laporta at first. They were starters on the corners in game one. And Carlos Santana, who played at first base last night, is back behind the plate. Chris Getz, 1 out of 5 with a triple, a run scored, and an RBI in the series. He was not in the starting lineup on Monday and was back in there last night. One ball, two strikes.
You know, you look at Justin Masterson, and we saw him last year, and we saw the sink on his fastball and how heavy a sink that he has on his fastball. He does have the ability to straighten it out, but him being 3-0 at this point kind of points to maybe improved command. Sinker ball's working the way he wants it to work, and he challenges the hitters with that sinker ball out over the plate.
And he has the type of movement on his pitches where he doesn't really need to worry about the corners. Just throw the ball down the middle of the plate, let the movement take care of itself. And Tim Belcher, the former Royal and now their pitching coach, his advice to him was throw the little white thing over the big white thing. On the ground to Orlando Cabrera. So Getz is out number 1 in the bottom of the first inning.
But you know, that's great advice, because why would a sinker ball want to pitch to the corners? Because if the ball's going to run, it's going to run off the plate. So you have to at least start at the middle of the plate and try to catch the corner. But if you got the kind of sinker that turns over in the middle of the plate, now more hitters going to beat that in the ground than anything else. And he's got that type of sinker.
Inside to Melky Cabrera. And Frank, as a hitter facing a good sinker ball pitcher, I mean, isn't the goal is to think that the pitch is going to be right down the middle? I mean, you want it to look like a fat pitch, and then the movement afterwards.
Well, you want him to throw it down. If you got the kind that turns over on top of the plate, then you want to throw it above the knees and give the hitter the illusion that's going to be a fastball above the knees, and when he commits, it's below the knees, and that's why you beat it in the ground.
Melky with 2 hits in the first 2 games, both of them doubles. He hasn't seen a whole lot of Masterson, only 6 at-bats, but he has 4 hits. And he walks with 1 out. Like most pitchers who are throwing well, Justin Masterson hasn't walked many. That's only his 5th walk in 20 2/3 innings. So 1 on, 1 out, and now Alex Gordon with a brand new career high 13 game hitting streak. His previous career high was 11. And that's into right center field, so make it a 14 game hitting streak. And he's going to drive in his 14th run of the year. And Alex is digging for 3. Cabrera dropped the throw from the outfield. Well, that didn't take very long.
Well, what a sweet sound of the ball coming off the bat. I mean, this ball was a shot in the right center field. You knew right away this is going to go to the wall. Alex, this ball did not sink at all. And Alex stayed through this pitch, Ryan, and he didn't roll over on it. And the sound of this ball coming off the bat was very good. And you knew right away this was going to the wall. And you can just see how he just stays back behind his swing. About the top hands underneath, going through the swing. Good extension. The ball just leaped off his bat.
So he's at third with 1 out. And inside ball one to Billy Butler. Remember last night we were talking about slugging percentage and how that measures how many extra base hits a hitter gives you. Well, Alex is second in the league in extra base hits. 1 ball, 1 strike on Billy Butler.
Well, I think Alex has got to be feeling real good about himself right now, Ryan. And, last couple of years have been a struggle for him, and just trying to figure this swing out and figure the adjustments out that he has to make at this level. And now going into spring training and taking it into the season, I mean, he's got to feel great coming to the ballpark every day.
1-2.
Well, you look at Kevin, and I talked to him before the game today, and he's just excited that this is all coming together for Alex, because they did put in a ton of work this offseason. And from a coach's perspective, that's what you want, the guy to buy into what you're selling, work with to get you guys are working together to get this thing done, and now you're seeing the results of it.
Masterson gave Billy a hard time. Sinkers in, and then a sweeping slider away. So the runner is at third base with 2 outs. We talked about Alex's hitting and his defense at the top of the broadcast. Forget about his running.
Well, he can run. I mean, Alex stole 20 bases in Double-A, and he's got that kind of ability. And now he's just a matter of just leaving home plate, making good turns around the bases, and not picking the ball up, just getting to that next base.
Jeff Francoeur is going to drive in Alex Gordon. Oh, by the way, Francoeur has a 10-game hitting streak. So Justin Masterson in his first 3 starts never gave up more than 1 earned run in any of those 3 starts, and the Royals have 2 in the first inning.
Well, you see this pitch is running right into Francoeur's bat, and he can hit the ball down, and he just stays right with it. I mean, what the Royals hitters are doing, if you watch his top hand, it stays underneath as he goes through the swing. And a lot of times they get in trouble is when you roll that wrist before contact, and that's where that ground ball comes. You keep the top hand underneath, and he's hitting hard. They're hitting hard line drives and hard ground balls so far this game.
Billy Butler was trying to jump on fastballs early in the count. Jeff Francoeur went after the very first pitch. Mike Aviles doesn't waste any time. And there's a reason for all of that. The numbers for Masterson against right-hand hitters is scary. And so, look at that, 103. So, all the right-hand batters that are in there tonight, don't be surprised that the first good thing they see, they're going to take a rip at it.
Well, they're catching that sinker before it's sinking. They're just not turning over fast enough. And Aviles being up in front of the plate, he can catch it before it starts to go down. So everybody's waiting for the ball to do what it needs to do, and then they're committing their hands to the pitch.
So 2 runs on 3 hits and a walk allowed by Masterson, and now CLE AT KCA. 0 for 7 in the series. He did lay down a sacrifice bunt in last night's game. Lays off the sinker, 1 ball, no strikes.
A lot of times sinker ballers, Ryan, when they start to get their first pitch hit for base hits, they're giving up ground balls, but their ground ball base hit does have a slider, and sometimes you have to go to that secondary pitch, first pitch, and then that'll make your sinker a little bit better on the next pitch.
Down and away. Santana hesitated, throwing back to Masterson. Surprised that wasn't called a strike. Pretty good size on the mound tonight. Luke Kochevar 6'5", Masterson 6'6", and 250 pounds. Taken by the Boston Red Sox in the 2nd round out of San Diego State in 2006. He was born in Jamaica, where his father was a missionary, and then they moved back to the States when Justin was 3 years old. Really a neat story. you figure a guy gets drafted by the Red Sox and he gets to the big leagues, and Fenway Park is sold out, and New England is just crazy for the Red Sox. But he was traded away 2 seasons ago. But before he was traded, Terry Francona brought him into his office, called Mark Shapiro of the Indians, and said, "I've got Justin in here because I want him to know what I think about him." And now the Indians are hoping that he can be an anchor in their rotation. So 4 walks allowed by Masterson in his first 3 starts, and now 2 walks in this inning. So Manny Acta hasn't seen much of that from Masterson this year, and actually going back to the second half of last year. So 2 runs home and more trouble for Masterson with the bases loaded and 2 down for Matt Trainer.
As a manager, you really want to see that guy that's 3-0 go out there and kind of get to those first 2 or 3 innings unscathed and give your offense a chance to get going. But a first inning like this is definitely not what Manny Acta expected tonight.
That slider stayed up. Trainer was tempted, and I'm not so sure he thought that was a strike.
Well, that's what Masterson has to do. When if your sinker's not doing what you wanted to do, then you got a slider, use it, and then might make that that next sinker a little bit better when you have to throw it.
That was a veteran move by Trainer. You could see his instincts wanted him to argue that call, but then thinking twice. He's behind the plate.
That's true.
Make sure he's got a good relationship with Joe West tonight. Don't want to ruin that in the bottom of the first inning. Nice stop by Santana with a backhand. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
This is a great save here. I mean, it's more of a hit and miss type situation, but I mean, he had nothing there but just try to backhand this ball. A lot of times that ball will come back into his body, but he was able to stay with that one.
Two and two.
I think probably the guy that's probably the most uneasiest right now would be Santana, because he has no idea where this pitch is going to go. Masterson hadn't established either side of the plate. Pretty much he's been off the plate. So when he settles down back there, he's probably looking to block a ball before he expects the ball to right down the middle of the plate.
And the count goes from 0-2 to 3-2. This will be the 30th pitch from Masterson in this inning. The Royals have 2 runs. They have the bases loaded, and the runners will be going with the next pitch.
Well, that's a I don't know if that's by design or what, but I mean, it's
Laporta over to the Royals dugout, and he runs out of room.
When you look at that grouping of pitches off the plate like that, Ryan, I think a lot of it is that he just hasn't found that release point that he needs to be consistently on the plate, and just holding on to it a little bit too long and then just jerking it across the plate.
Looks like Matt Trainer's going with that Carl Pavano mustache.
That "Can I Trust You" mustache. There's a lot of resemblance there too.
And we'll do it again.
That's fairly close.
Yeah. Wow, who came up with that quickly? Was that Sammy? You say it 1 second and there it is. Runners go again, and it's popped up. Orlando Cabrera is out. He's there, and that's the inning. The Royals get 2 against Masterson in the first. And before we get to the second, here's tonight's video fan question of the night.
This is Alex and Ethan Hamill from Olathe, Kansas, and we have a question for Frank and Ryan. We want to know who's got the strongest arm in the outfield since they've done so great this year.
Well, former Major League outfield coach.
Well, we know about Jeff Francoeur, what he brings to the table in terms of his arm strength. And, Melky's arm is okay, too, in center field for a center fielder. But I think Alex Gordon is the guy that I would say right now might not have the overall total arm strength as Francoeur, but in terms of his release time, accuracy, then I would probably put my money on Alex at this point.
We've talked about this before, but when an infielder goes to the outfield, they're used to throwing to a much smaller target. I mean, an outfielder a lot of times will grab the ball and just wail away and throw to an area. But when Alex was playing third, he couldn't throw to an area when he was throwing to second base or first base. So it's common when they go to the outfield to be very accurate with the cutoff man.
I think their feet are a little bit quicker, too, in terms of the crow hop and getting ready to throw. In last night's game, when Alex threw out the runner at the plate, Marson, you could see he didn't have the grip, but his crow hop was so quick, and he readjusted himself so quick in terms of getting that grip, and the throw was off and running. I mean, he didn't have to wind up. Nice release time, nice accurate. The ball hits the ground, take off, and nice big long hop to Brian Pinckney at the plate. I mean, that was just good footwork. And the quicker you set those feet, the faster that arm goes.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Carlos Santana, who ended the game last night with a strikeout against Joakim Soria. Bases loaded. He took 3 straight pitches. Never got the bat off of his shoulder. I'm sure he thought about that all night. I mean, if you're going to go down, make the final out of the game with the tying run at second, go ahead run, or tying run at third, go ahead run at second, you at least want to do it swinging the bat.
Got to let it go.
And he strikes out looking here. He was trying to sell Joe West that the pitch was up and in. So Luke Hochevar has retired the first 4 tonight.
And we'll take a look at it. It's up around the letters. And came right back to the corner.
Santana was running for his life on that pitch.
Well, when Blake Wood pitched to him last night, he threw that very exact same pitch and got the strike on the inside corner, but they never went back to it again. And I think that's when a hitter's giving it up that fast, then you got to go back in there and see if it's real.
Now curveball for a strike to Travis Hafner. 1 for 3 with a double on Monday, and then struck out as a pinch hitter last night. Oh, and 2. Luke has had the good combination of solid pitching on his part and good run support. Royals have given a 2-0 lead in the second inning. In his last 3 starts this year, the Royals have scored at least 6. 2 up, 2 down in the second inning. A reminder to look for the Miller Lite Taste Great moment. That's later in tonight's game. Some pitchers are relaxed and really settle in when they're pitching with a nice lead. Some pitchers will tell you they really don't like pitching with a big lead because they get too relaxed and they lose their edge.
Who's that guy? That guy's got a problem. He's got to fix that.
Well, there we go again. We saw it last night. Remember Orlando Cabrera? He takes a strike with the intent to swing, and then he takes a pitch all the way and puts himself in the hole 0-2. When he did that last night, he ended up with a base hit. He chops this one to Escobar, and 2 very good innings for Luke Hochevar. tonight's You Call It, presented by Sprint. Your favorite play at the plate. And if your memory's a little fuzzy, we'll show you the 4 selections. Opening day, Jeff Francoeur to Matt Trainer, who takes a shot at the plate. And against the Angels 2 games later, a nice relay to the plate. Melky Cabrera to Chris Getz, to Brian Pena. Then at Detroit, Alex Gordon, Alcides Escobar, and Brian Pena blocking the plate, as he did last night on a throw from Alex Gordon. So there you have it. Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals, followed by a space, A, B, C, or D. Grounded to Orlando Cabrera. Alcides Escobar is out number 1. Well, we hope you'll join us for a unique dining experience at Kauffman Stadium. The new 390 Bar and Grill features a private bar, 65-inch HD TVs throughout the restaurant, and a climate-controlled environment. It is open to the public, located on the third base side of the Loge level next to section 301. Chris Getz grounded out to second base in the first inning. And another ground ball to the right side. So Cabrera has been busy. 2 down. Speaking of the 390 club, that's where Joel Goldberg is hanging out.
All kidding aside, because we can't make fun of Frank, this is the 390 Bar and Grill, the old stadium club, and really nice inside. Great food, and of course, when the weather's bad, a really nice spot to go as well. And so this is the renovated stadium club. All kinds of great pictures of George Brett and much more. And by the way, the George Brett Lounge is right down the way as well. Guys, let's go back upstairs to you.
Very nice. Maybe we should do a game from the 390 Club.
Sounds good.
Normally they put us outside and it's hot and windy and our papers are flying everywhere. You know, I don't know about you, but I would feel a lot better about endorsing something if I've experienced it. You know?
Always. I think you have to go up there. We need to go in there. We need to check that out.
Yeah. Sample some of the food.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. Shallow left field. Michael Brantley is there, and it's a much better, a much quicker second inning for Justin Masterson. Breads, soups, salads, and sandwiches at Panera Catering. Order online at PaneraKansas.com. and by Chevy. See your Kansas City area Chevy dealers. Six up, 6 back to the dugout against Luke Hochevar so far tonight. So it's Michael Brantley, Matt Laporta, and Jack Hanahan. Brantley fouls it off of his shin. Man, that hurts all the way up here. And it's not the first time. He has a big shin guard already on his right leg.
I always felt like that was giving something away to the pitcher. That's one of those times where you can pitch inside, you can get in there, having trouble getting the ball out of there, swinging at the ball off the plate inside, and that's why you get a lot of those foul balls off your ankles.
Two ground balls, 1 strikeout, 3 outs in the air for Luke Hochevar. 2-2 against Brantley. Brantley's 4 out of 8 with a couple of walks, and even his outs have been well hit. Really swung the bat well in this series, and he's hitting .328 overall. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Keela to the hole to Hochevar. 1 down in the 3rd inning. Well, our buddy Jeff Montgomery is up here to tell us about Royals alumni batting practice, which is coming up in May. First of all, before we get to Monty and batting practice, I must tell you that we were all thrilled and relieved to hear your explanation last night that nothing's wrong with Joakim Soria. It's just dealing with the cold temperatures. It's got to be harder for a reliever when you're sitting in the bullpen all game, right?
Very difficult, and I think it's going to be interesting once we have some warm weather games to see how he adjusts to that. I guess the counterpoint is he's never had problems in the past pitching in cold weather, so that's my only footnote to that. But I still think that he's going to be okay. I just look forward to the opportunity for him to go out and put all these behind. He's obviously spoiled everyone with his unbelievable success that he's had, especially last season. Sometimes that takes a toll the year afterwards.
1 strike on Matt Laporta as Luke Hochevar's retired the first 7 tonight and working with a 2-0 lead. So Monty, coming up on May the 14th, 10 former Royals are going to be out there and throwing batting practice to fans. They can come out and run around Kauffman Stadium for a morning.
Well, I describe it as almost like a half-day fantasy camp. For those who ever have aspired to go to fantasy camp, this is an opportunity to come out for $300, enjoy a half a day on Kauffman Stadium field, have a chance to see if you can hit the ball in the ballpark.
See if you can catch a big league fly ball.
Get a little work in. We work with the infield, we work in the outfield, get in the cages, have guys that give some expert instruction on how to do things the right way. So it's a lot of fun, great opportunity for anyone who's ever looked for that opportunity to get out and see what it's like to be on the field. The game gets quick down there.
Mm-hmm. Well, most guys, the one that I did, the biggest thing that the people had to say when they went to the shortstop, second base, they can't believe how big the field is. And when they have to try to throw across the field, then that's when they throw one time and quit.
Yeah, it's a little different. The closer you get to the action, the more difficult it gets.
Well, Luke's done a pretty good job locating right at the bottom of the Fox tracks.
Didn't get that call. Now Laporta goes too far, and Luke has his 2nd strikeout tonight. You noticed anything different about Luke Hochevar, Monty, compared to last year or the year before?
I think the thing I've noticed more than anything, he's been more aggressive in the strike zone. I think he has a little more confidence in his stuff and his ability, and he's going to need that. I mean, he has great stuff. He was, given opportunities to really grow up a lot at the big league level, and I think if he's going to be successful, he's got to stay aggressive.
Because he's got a fastball that he can cut, he can sink, he's got a curveball, he's got a slider, he's got a changeup, he's used a split, and the question has come up from time to time. I mean, does he need that many pitches, or can he refine it to 1, 2, 3 of his best?
If he's got one pitch working, I think it's important that he sticks to that pitch if he believes in that pitch. You don't want to be a Thomas Edison on the mound. You don't want to be out there trying to invent stuff and be overly creative. I think you can get in trouble as a pitcher if you try to do too much and get a little out of your element.
Anahan hits a 2-hopper to Keela. He'll go to the bag himself. Thanks, Monty.
You got it. Glad to be up.
3 perfect innings for Hochevar. Women's Intersport Network, or WIN, for KC for her ability to rise above adversity and inspire others to overcome their own challenges. She maintains a 3.9 grade point average at Liberty High School, and tonight she's sitting in the Buck O'Neill Legacy seat. Alex Gordon tripled on the first pitch thrown to him back in the first inning, drove in a run, and then scored on Jeff Francoeur's single. That gave the Royals a 2-0 lead, and it gives Alex a 14-game hitting streak. It also is his 14th RBI. And Masterson needed 32 pitches to get through the first inning. He faced 8 Royals, but then got through the second on just 9 pitches. Alex swings at a slider in the dirt. Santana down to first to complete the strikeout. Masterson has his second strikeout.
A little change in philosophy this time. Ryan Masterson comes at him with a slider, fastball, then another slider. So he's not really sticking with that hard sinker, because if it's not working, you got to go to those secondary pitches to kind of make it a better pitch. And he made that adjustment on Alex Gordon on that at bat.
The first strikeout for Masterson was against Billy Butler in the first inning. And now Billy goes over the mound, over second base, and into center field. Billy struck out with Alex Gordon at third and 1 out, so a ground ball or a fly ball would have given him an RBI. But then Jeff Francoeur picked him up with an RBI single.
Well, just basically, this ball is starting to run in. Billy catches it at a good spot and directs it back through the middle, and hit a hard ground in front of home plate, and they had to have some height to get over Masterson on top of that mound. So just beat it in the ground in the right spot.
Now Francoeur goes up the middle as Drupal Cabrera to Orlando Cabrera to Matt Laporta. So it's a 6-pitch inning for Masterson. Both he and Justin Masterson have topped out at 95 so far in our Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison. Now fast is even faster. Double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo. And a big curveball drops in for a strike on Grady Sizemore. Sizemore jumped on the first fastball he liked in the first inning and popped out. In fact, the Indians in the first inning were swinging very early in the count. So Hochevar mixing it up this time around. 1 ball, 1 strike. He has had 3 easy innings. 7 pitches in the first, 12 pitches in the second, 14 in the third. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Sizemore. Making just his 3rd start since coming back from the disabled list. On the DL, recovering from his knee surgery from a year ago. Only played 33 games for the Indians last year. And the year before, only 106 games because of a left elbow problem, which required surgery. Didn't get it down around the fat part of the bat, and Francoeur makes the catch in right field. So the first 10 go down against Hochevar tonight. Buck Night and Fireworks Friday coming up on April the 29th. It's the Royals and the Twins at 7:10. You can purchase hot dogs, small Pepsi products, and peanuts for just $1 each. And then be sure to stay after the game for a great fireworks show presented by Hy-Vee and Pepsi. That is the first game of the next homestand. After tomorrow night, Royals will travel to Texas and then to Cleveland. They'll be playing the Indians again for 3. And then back home for a long homestand. The Royals will have 3 against Minnesota, 3 against Baltimore, and 3 against Oakland. Cabrera flied out to right in the first inning. And a changeup on 2-0. So Luke has every pitch working tonight.
Yeah, and they have a good mix going too. You go back to the ball that Chu hit in the first, and you look at the ball that Sizemore just hit leading off the top of this inning. They probably said, "Man, I wish we were playing at home," because those balls are probably out of Progressive Field.
How about the movement on that last pitch?
Oh. I mean, that's really a nice pitch. I mean, the pitchers aren't going to it a lot, but it seems like it's a real good go-to bread and butter pitch when you have to have it.
Trainer calls for the changeup again, and it's pulled on the ground to Getz. 2 away. Well, and Jeff Montgomery was up here last inning talking about alumni batting practice. I asked him what he has seen different this year as opposed to years past for Luke Hochevar, and he said being more aggressive in the strike zone. Last year, he walked a little over 3 per 9 innings, and that was way down among American League starters. This year, he's 5th, and he's really cut down his walks.
And he also mentioned confidence, and I think you're talking about finding your way, gaining confidence every time you go out there, and I think that's where Luke is right now, because you have a lot of guys who have a lot of good stuff in this game, but the confidence on the mound keeps them from really excelling to where they need to excel to. And I think where Luke is right now is that confidence-wise, he's probably at his highest.
No balls and 2 strikes on Shin-Soo Choo, who is the only Indian tonight who has made solid contact against Hochevar. He lined to right field in the first inning, and we told you early tonight that Shin-Soo Choo has been all over Luke Hochevar in prior meetings. He is 11 out of 18 against Luke with 3 home runs. Two balls, 2 strikes. after having a monster year against the Royals last year. So far in this series, Chu is just 2 out of 10, and he has struck out 4 times. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Struck him out. He'll make it 5 strikeouts for Chu in the series and 3 for Hochevar tonight. A lot of time talking about defense tonight. And here is tonight's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. Most outfield assists in the major leagues. And the Royals have a 3 assist advantage over the Orioles and the Dodgers with 9. Alex Gordon leads the Royals with 4. There have been no opportunities tonight because the Indians are without a base runner in the first 4 innings against Luke Hochevar. Mike Avila singled in the first inning. He's hit in 5 straight games. And now he grounds it sharply to Hanahan. 1 down. And back to defense again. And in tonight's Sprint You Call It, we're asking you about your favorite play at the plate. And I agree with the fans. Alex Gordon to Brian Pena. Brian handling a difficult hop with the runner arriving at the same time, blocking the plate. That was my favorite. What about you?
I like Frank Coeur, the trainer, when he got ran over at home plate. I thought that showed a lot of toughness, and he was able to hold on to the ball and really kind of set the tone for the season and how that position behind the plate was going to be played.
2-1 on Keela. He walked in the first inning. Here's last night's play. Brian not in the lineup tonight with a right-hander on the mound. Into right center field, and maybe that's the hit that gets Keela going. It puts an end to an 0 for 7. So he's been on base twice tonight.
All right, you know that he's had so much success as a hitter. You know, sooner or later had to turn around for him in terms of getting a base hit. So he does a good job of hitting a line drive back through the middle, and by walking the first time, that's something that he usually does. So it shows his good eye. So maybe he is starting to turn around a little bit.
And an aggressive swing by Trainer. Now here's Frank's pick, and tonight you call it. Opening day against the Angels. Taking a shot from Jeff Mathis, the Angels catcher, who certainly knows how to go in to home plate if you're going to take out the catcher.
Well, I think anytime the catcher has a chance to square up, he has a chance to survive. I think when that throw's coming from right field and he doesn't get completely turned around so he can square up to the runner coming from third, that's when you have the real violent collisions, and they usually don't hold on, and your rib cage is exposed to the runner. So Matt had a chance to square up and brace himself. It's just a matter of just absorbing it and hold on to the ball at the same time.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, one thing is certain, the Royals have a couple of catchers right now that are not afraid to block home plate.
I mean, I tell you, in such a short window of games, we've had quite a few great plays at the plate. The one in Detroit where Brian had to hold on to the ball and hang in there, and as Rhymes comes in to home plate on that great relay between Alex and Alcides Escobar. I mean, that was all of them have been clutch. I think that's the key thing. They've all meant something when they've happened.
Trainer strikes out. Masterson has 3 tonight. The Alex Gordon to Brian Pena last night was in the 7th inning. And if that run scores and the Indians go on to score 1 in the 8th and 1 in the 9th, as they did, it would have been a tie game. Ball 1 to Alcides Escobar. Grounded out to second base his first time. 2 out of 9 in this series. And batting .232. Good movement. There's that pitch we were talking about earlier. Starts it right down the middle. Escobar takes a big rip, and then that thing just disappears on him.
And that's when you have to try to get inside of it. Billy did a good job of steering it back through the middle. When you try to track it coming in and hit around it, then that's when you really play into Masterson's hand. You see the swing path that Alcides took right there is more of a pull type swing than trying to stay in there and try to get inside of that pitch and go back through the middle. You know which way it's going to break. You just got to catch it before it gets deep in there and try to get it back the other way, because as a sinker baller, only way to get him in the air is just hit him the opposite way.
Keela takes off, and it's chopped to the left side. Hanahan gets Escobar by 1 step. Meanwhile, the Indians have done nothing against Luke Hochevar.
Well, Luke has done a good job mixing his pitches, man. We noticed earlier that he had command of 3 pitches, his changeup, his curveball, and his fastball. And as long as he's got those, he's throwing for strikes and mixing them up as he's doing, and he's gonna have a pretty good success against the Indians the rest of the way.
Only one hard hit ball so far. Shin-Soo Choo's line out in the first inning. That curveball just missed. Luke has control of his curveball. He has control of his changeup. He has great movement on his sinking fastball. Just inside to Santana. Boy, he sure tries to sell it, doesn't he? Anything that is either inside or on the inner portion of the plate.
Well, you're right, Ryan, and I'd have to go in there and make him do something to show me that he can do something with this pitch. You know, sometimes you don't have to use your whole arsenal for certain hitters. If you see that they're giving away that inside pitch that fast, then you just stay in there and make them make the adjustment.
Another ground ball. Hochevar to the bag. So Luke has retired the first 13 tonight.
And he tries to go. This pitch is supposed to be to the outside, but this ball runs back in the middle of the plate. But you look at Santana's body; he pitched inside so much, that he just rolls over on this pitch, and he gets an easy ground ball to Keela at first base.
Now Travis Hafner, who grounded out to short in the second inning. Belted to right field. Back goes Francoeur. He is there. So another line out to right. 2 down in the 5th inning. That ball seemed to have a bit of topspin on it as opposed to after hitting through it and the ball carrying. That thing just seemed to die as it got out to right field.
I was going to say the same thing. I looked at the flags and they're just hanging straight down. The ball just don't seem to be traveling in that area at all tonight.
Here's a slider outside to Orlando Cabrera, out on a ground ball to short in the second inning. One ball, one strike.
You know, Luke's doing a real good job, Ryan, of just really gathering himself before he makes the pitch. You can see where he comes up. He makes a good leg turn. He hesitates a little bit. Then he goes to the plate. Now, he's giving himself a chance to get loaded and also pick up his target and have everything going toward the plate at the same time.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Cabrera. Now Cabrera been around a while, trying to disrupt Hochevar's rhythm. And he pops it up. Keela into foul ground, over by the dugout suite, and he had more room than he thought. He went to the railing, and I think that ball landed beyond the railing.
Well, I think one of those plays where first basemen are always taught to go to the rail right away and then come back off the rail. So he sort of drifted with this one, but this was well into the dugout suite.
I thought maybe that landed on the other side of the railing in the dirt, but it didn't. It was in the dugout suite and back out. So another 1-2 pitch. And really the only bad pitch that Hochevar's thrown tonight.
They held on to that one just a little bit too long.
Off the end of the bat, Escobar is out, Gordon is in, and it's 5 perfect innings for Hochevar. Favors tonight, and you're locked in. Man, you don't want to leave the mound. That was after the third out, and Luke was ready to go back to work.
And definitely in a zone, right?
The way he's pitching, he probably feels like he can get 4 or 5 outs per inning. Top of the order for the Royals against Justin Masterson. And Chris Getz takes one either on the knee or on the shin. And somehow finds a way to smile.
Well, a lot of times when
Oh
my goodness, that's a double play, shin. You square around like that, and some pitchers, they just lose sight of the plate and go right for the hitter, and that had to smart a little bit.
Now he's smiling on the way to first, but he's not quite ready to go. Doug Sisson, first base coach, told first base umpire Angel Hernandez, timeout, hang on a second, and gets walked around first base, ran in place to try and loosen that knot up. Fouled away by Melky Cabrera. Melky walked with 1 out in the first inning and scored on Alex Gordon's triple. He is also flied out to left. Down here, no balls and 2 strikes. So Masterson gave up the 2 runs in the first, and then a very quick second inning, an even quicker third inning, a scoreless fourth. And as it's said so often against the good pitchers, you better get them early. The Indians will not turn to double play. They made it interesting along the way. They do get Chris Getz at second base. A couple of acrobatic plays by the Cabreras.
Well, it makes a nice play here, and Chris Getz, you know, when I was watching him run, he wasn't really running quite as well, but that's very acrobatic by Asdrubal Cabrera, and Laporta does a good job picking it out of the ground.
You may have heard Lee Judge of the Kansas City Star, who writes the column Judging the Royals, talking on Royals Live tonight about some of the things that you don't necessarily see in the official statistics, like breaking up double plays, and Chris Getz going in hard to prevent a double play, blocking pitches in the dirt where a runner advances, and you never know, but runner at first base in the case here. Santana blocks a ball in the dirt. Cabrera stays at first. Most of the time we don't make a big deal about it. Next hitter gets a base hit. It would have scored a run. So Lee is trying to evaluate the Royals based on some of those lesser known categories.
Well, that's real good. He started last year, Ryan. I think it's a good deal to do because as a player, a lot of times you don't get the base hit or you don't make the defensive play to win the game. Sometimes it is breaking up a double play in a key situation and give the team an extra out. And I think that's where I think it's valuable at, because a player can look at that when he goes home, he can feel like he did something to help the ball club.
2-0 to Alex Gordon.
I remember Hal McRae used to tell me when I first came up, he says, just take something home every night. It could be a sac fly, great play, base hit, you know, breaking up a double play. As long as you do something positive to help the club, then you got to feel good when you leave the ballpark that night.
Two and one when Joe Randa played for the Royals, and when you're part of the coaching staff, Rich Dower was the third base coach, and Joe told me that Richie Dower used to preach, put an egg in the basket. You may not get a big hit to win a game. In fact, you might go 0 for 4, but there are many little ways that you can, quote, put an egg in the basket and contribute to the team winning a game.
That's an old-fashioned way of keeping the game simple and making you feel like you can help your ball club without the benefit of a base hit. There's just more to playing the game than getting a base hit.
Alex with his first triple of the year in the first inning and his 14th RBI to give him a 14-game hitting streak. which is the longest active streak in the big leagues. Battling Masterson and still alive at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Alex is also the subject of tonight's AT&T trivia question. What 2 players hold the Royals mark for the most assists in a season by a left fielder? The record is shared by 2 right fielders, Jermaine Dye and Mark Teahan. Center field, medium deep, but playable for Sizemore. Cabrera is not tagging, but Sizemore not taking that for granted. He still got behind the fly ball and fires it back to the infield. So Cabrera's at first with 2 down.
Well, I know Willie Wilson won a Gold Glove in left field. Johnny Damon comes to mind.
Didn't have a strong arm, but he got to the ball quickly and he got it back in quickly.
And Willie and Johnny were similar. They charged the ball quickly. Neither had strong arms, but they gave themselves a chance to throw runners out at the plate because how fast they were and how fast they closed on the base hit between third and shortstop.
One and one on Billy. Struck out on a slider in the first inning and then singled to center in the third.
And he had Bo Jackson for a while.
Don't know if he had the record, but he has the most famous outfield assists from left field in Royals history.
Yes, he does.
Throwing out Harold Reynolds from downtown Seattle. My dad, by the way, was the manager of the Mariners, and he came running out to argue, and I asked him, what did you say? He goes, I don't remember. I didn't know what to say, but I felt like I had to go out and do something because everybody was shocked. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, including his teammates.
Yeah. I think he said that he told the umpire there's no way he threw him out from the warning track. Well, he did. Clues from producer Kevin Shank. One of the left fielders, you have to go back a ways, and the other is more recent. Boy, that's helpful, isn't it?
Well, recent can be in the last 10 years.
Cabrera is running. It's sliced to the line. Shin-Soo Choo runs it down. So at the end of 5, it's still 2-0 Royals. Jumping on Justin Masterson in the first inning. Alex Gordon's triple scored Melky Cabrera. That gave Alex a 14-game hitting streak. And Jeff Francoeur a 10-game hitting streak with his 2-out single to get Gordon to the plate. Curveball is outside to Michael Brantley. On the other side, Luke Hochevar has pitched 5 perfect innings, and if you go back to his last start, remember he retired the final 16. So he's retired 13 or 31 in a row over his last 2 starts. So he's been pitching out of the windup for a long time.
Well, he looks very comfortable.
Two balls and 1 strike. Brantley grounded out to first in the 3rd inning. He'll be followed by Matt Laporta and Jack Hanahan. Into right center field, and that's the first base hit, the first base runner for the Indians. And the fans appreciate Luke's effort to this point, and many begin to stand and cheer him on. So he retired 31 in a row. Remember, a perfect game is 27 in a row, so nothing will go into the record books last start or this start. However, 31 in a row is 31 in a row.
It's very impressive, Ryan. And I tell you this, it's one of those times where you say, I've heard you say this many times. Now you into the stretch and see if it makes a difference. But a lot of times you go that long a stretch and not give up a hit. Sometimes it's worth a visit to the mound, you know, to try to calm things down and kind of calm those emotions down.
Really no surprise that Michael Brantley got the first hit for the Indians. Man, he has hit almost everything hard in this series.
And take a look at Luke's slider right here. It just falls right off the table. So he still has good stuff and good command of his pitches. Well, Brantley was a good-looking player last year. You know, you can see that he does a very good job in center field. And there's a balk been called on Luke Hochevar.
And if Luke wonders why it's a balk, Angel Hernandez showed him 2 different times why it was a balk. Yep.
He bent that knee as if he was going home, and then he turned to throw to first base. So that's definitely deceiving the runner. Watch the left knee bend, and then he turns and goes to first. So that's.
I like what Angel Hernandez did. It's the knee. You do it again. It's the knee. And I'm sure Luke realizes what he did. 1 ball, 1 strike to Laporta. He struck out in the 3rd inning. Yeah, I remember a pitching coach telling me that. I don't remember who it was, but how quickly things can turn for a pitcher who's just cruising along, a no-hitter, in this case a perfect game through 5 innings, and all of a sudden men on base, and there's a line drive inside the line. So 5 perfect innings, and then the Indians are on the board, 2 batters into the next inning. Another strong throw by Alex. It doesn't get Laporta, and now all of a sudden it is a 1-run game with the tying run at second base and nobody out.
Well, you definitely have. It's a different rhythm throwing out of the stretch and throwing in the windup. It's a breaking ball he left out over the plate, and Aviles makes a great effort to try to stop this ball from getting down the line, but to no avail on this ball. You can see Brantley scores easily on a ball down the line, but you made a great comment. Alex made an outstanding play just getting that ball and making that strong throw in the second base.
"31 consecutive hitters. You're pitching out of the windup. You don't have to worry about a base runner. You have one focus, and that's the guy standing at the plate. Don't have to divide your attention. And this is nothing exclusive to Luke Hochevar. I mean, this is something that could happen to Roy Halladay. I mean, even the best pitchers.
And you're right. After I saw the first slider that he threw, it looked like he was still on top of things. But the next few pitches, breaking balls backed up out over the plate and got hit.
Hanahan grounded out to first in the third inning. He didn't want to do that then. He would love to do it here. And he gets a ground ball to the right side to move Laporta to third. So a productive out for Hanahan, and the tying run is 90 feet away. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre with Frank White, Joel Goldberg, producer Kevin Shank, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is TJ McGinnis. Infield in halfway. Laporta is not a fast runner, and Grady Sizemore lays off a curveball in the dirt. So those of you that were paying a little more attention to the game because of the first 5 innings, and if you were wondering when was the last time a Royal threw a no-hitter, August of 1991, Brett Saberhagen right here against the Chicago White Sox. No Royal has ever pitched a perfect game. The closest, however, if my research is correct, came from a guy who was the least likely of candidates to throw a no-hitter, Jim Colburn, who had 1 walk in his no-hitter back in 1977. 3 balls and no strikes on Sizemore. Steve Busby threw the first 2 no-hitters. He had a 1 walk, 1 error away from a perfect game in 74, and then in 73 he walked 6. So those are the 4 no-hitters in Royals history. 3-1.
You know, as a hitter, that's probably the most embarrassing thing you can have happen to your team is to be no hit. So I feel pretty fortunate that it never happened to any of the teams that I played on. Close calls, but never happened.
Up the middle, and Laporta stays put as Getz throws out Sizemore. So the infield in got what they wanted, a ground ball, no play at the plate, but that held Laporta, and now there are 2 down.
Yeah, with the lack of speed at third base, you can play your infields a little bit deeper. So Chris Getz does a good job picking it up, checking Laporta at third, and then making a nice throw to first to get Sizemore.
Now is Drubal Cabrera, who is grounded out and flied out. One and one. Now your first year was 73, right?
I came up in 73, but Nolan had thrown a no-hitter.
That same year, but
before I came up.
Before you came up, that was in May of 1973. And up until 3 years ago, that was the only no-hitter ever thrown against the Royals.
Yeah, all I heard when I came up was, wait till you see Nolan Ryan.
Another balk brings home the tying run. So after 5 perfect innings, the Indians tie the game with an imperfect run. Deflected to the right side, and there's nothing Getz can do. It's a single for Cabrera. Let's go back to the second balk that allowed Laporta to score.
Well, you can't. Once you start that motion to go to the plate, you have to continue. Luke started it, then he just wasn't confident in the pitch he wanted to throw, and Joe West caught him. You see Manny Acta, he was right on top of it also.
So we're all square. And now Shin-Soo Choo. Well, the Indians have tied the game with 3 hits. And it's not like they've been knocking Luke all over the ballpark. But maybe the effect of the 5 perfect innings tonight and the 16 in a row retired in his last start were the 2 balks.
Well,
I mean, when was the last time you saw Luke Kochevar balk?
Yeah, a lot of times balks go back to concentration, and I think that kind of speaks to your point. You're so wrapped up in what you're doing in terms of the 5 innings and not giving up any hits. You're starting to think about possibly no hitter. So I'm always a believer that when a pitcher goes that long and finally gets with that first hit, then it's either time for a visit from the pitching coach or a visit from the catcher to just kind of calm things down and give him a chance to kind of regroup and rethink about things.
If you count his minor league games, this is Luke Kochevar's 118th professional game. And prior to tonight, he had 2 walks in 118 professional games. Excuse me. 2 balks in 118 professional games, major league and minor league, and now 2 in this inning.
But when you analyze them both, the first one you kind of feel like he wanted to go to the plate.
And that's into left center field. And Cabrera has good speed. He'll be waved around. Escobar to the plate. And the throw is a little high. And into third base goes Shin-Soo Choo. It was not an easy relay for Escobar. He had a long way to run just to get to the throw. But if the throw is lower, that makes things interesting at the plate.
I think he really has a shot at the plate. Now, this is a changeup that stayed out over the plate, and Choo just goes the other way right off the end of the bat. Cabrera does a good job cutting this ball off and getting it back into Escobar right here. Now, you're right, Ralph. This throws down. It's a pretty good chance he gets Cabrera at the plate. And Choo just follows the hot throw into third base. I'd say on a trivia, I'd say Lou Piniella and David DeJesus.
Wow. And we're talking about the 2 players who hold the Royals mark for most assists in a season by a left fielder. Wow.
Well, the good tip was Kevin Shanks said the first 5 years and the last 5 years.
Okay. Still. 09, that was the year that DeJesus went the whole season without committing an error, right?
Right.
And you and I thought he should be considered for a Gold Glove.
But did we get beat up on that?
Our friends in the business just crucified us for that.
You're right. I was trying to analyze the 2 balks. The first balk, it looked as though he wanted to go to the plate and throw to first base at the same time. The knee came up as if he's going to throw it. Then all of a sudden he changes and goes to first. The second one, it was more of he starts his windup. Maybe he's not sure about the pitch. Then he steps off. So that's 2 balks right there. Those are 2 maybe concentration balks right there.
And again, not picking on Luke for losing concentration, but as we said, I mean, that happens to the best of pitchers. When you're pitching out of the windup for so long, no distractions at all, and all of a sudden, I mean, Luke's dealing with things he didn't have to deal with going back to, what, the first or second inning of his last start. And now a walk, his first. He had 60 pitches in his first 5 innings, and now 26 in this inning. So first and third, and now Travis Hafner, who had one of the 2 well-hit balls for the Indians in the first 5 innings when Hochevar had 5 perfect innings. One ball, no strikes. Who would have thought when this inning began that the Royals would have anybody warming up in the bullpen?
Well, not the way Luke was throwing. I mean, he had everything going his way. He had command of 3 pitches, sometimes 4 pitches, and the Indians weren't squaring the ball up. A lot of ground balls. But I've never pitched, but I can only imagine the amount of emotion that builds when you get through 5 innings and haven't given up any hits. You're pitching a perfect game. And internally, you know, a pitcher might say, well, I wasn't thinking about it, but you can't help but think about it when you're in that situation. So when it's over, you know, the fans give you an ovation, and you got all these emotions running through you. So I think it's just time to just take a little step back and just sort of regroup and don't just get into that next hitter right away. Because we've seen many, many times when a guy's throwing a no-hitter, he gives up that first hit, he invariably gives up a couple runs.
It would take forever to research this, although there are computers and programs out there that could probably figure it out. But yeah, I wonder how many runs are scored, the percentage of runs that are scored in the 8th or 9th inning. In that inning, when a pitcher loses his perfect game or his no-hitter, I'll bet it's at least a third or maybe half the time.
I would go right with you. I've always said if it's in the 8th inning and he breaks it, take him out of the game in a close game, because chances are something bad's going to happen.
Line, that's past Aviles. It is a 4-run inning for the Indians, and they're going to have runners at second and third with 2 outs.
And that's when you know you snake bit right here. You got to pitch out of the strike zone, up and in the half, and he's swinging the pull, and the ball goes down the third baseline. So this is when you know you're pretty much snake bit at this point. And you see Chu comes in and got runners at Santana at third, Hafner at second base.
This will put things into perspective. It took the Indians 3 innings to get 9 batters to the plate, and now they've got 9 batters to the plate in this inning alone. That's how good the first 5 innings were for Hochevar and how bad this inning's been. 3 doubles, 2 singles, a walk, and 2 balks. And now 2 balls and no strikes against Orlando Cabrera. He has thrown 32 pitches in this inning, 33 total in the first 3. Two and 1. Carlos Santana at third base, Travis Hafner at second. It is a called strike, 2-2. To Luke's credit, something that really dogged him in his first 4 years in the major leagues was getting into an inning that he couldn't get out of. And when you go back over his starts, there always seemed to be one inning that if he could have gotten out of it a little bit earlier, it would have changed the complexion of the game. He has not had that trouble this year in his first 4 starts. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
I think that's where we talked about it. That's where we talked about the maturity of a pitcher. And it looked as though Luke had just finally turned that corner where maturity-wise he can just go out there and keep the big inning off of himself and make the pitch that he needs to make. But it's the unseen things that hurt him tonight. The 2 balks and the walk, those things really hurt him tonight.
now Matt Trainer going to go out and talk over this 3-2 pitch. There is an open base, and at the same time, though, you've got Michael Brantley on deck. He started all this with a solid base hit to center field, and he's been hitting the ball hard all series. And even though the Royals do have Collins ready in the bullpen, I don't think you want the bases loaded for Michael Brantley. Kochevar ends the inning with a strikeout, but the Indians score 4 to take a 2-run lead.
The bottom of the 6th inning, and this is our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Alice Jenkins from Kansas City, Kansas. If the Royals hit a home run this inning, Alice will win $1,800. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Alice will win $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals.
All right, Frank, here's the other side of what we were talking about with Luke Kochevar going 5 perfect innings. And we've seen it happen so often. A man reaches, he's got to pitch out of the stretch, and sometimes things become a little screwy on the mound. Well, Justin Masterson has pitched very well in his last 4 innings, but he just had to sit and watch for a long time. And we'll see what happens in this inning. But on one hand, he's thrilled that his team has given him the lead, but pitchers work so much on rhythm, and he has not pitched in a long time. And you see that happen so often. A close game, a guy is really rolling along, his team has a big inning. He goes back to the mound, and it's like he's starting from scratch.
Well, you're right. He just went 3 pretty clean innings, and that pitch in the dirt was probably the worst pitch he's thrown in that particular time. So getting back to that release point, that feel that he had, that could be a problem.
He sat on the bench for almost 21 minutes as his team scored 4 in the top of the 6th inning. Francoeur pops it up. It is Santana and Laporta, and it's Matt Laporta for the out. Faith and Family Day will kick off on Sunday, May the 1st, when the Royals take on the Twins at 1:10. The event is hosted by KCTV's chief meteorologist Katie Horner and will include a speech by Jim Morris, the inspiration for the popular Disney movie The Rookie, as well as speeches by Royals executives and players. Shallow center, Sizemore dives, and he makes a nice play. He had to correct his own mistake of going back first, and Aviles is 1 for 3.
Well, Grady showed a lot of athletic ability on this play. He comes straight in And diving straight forward on a ball is hard. That's hard to do. And he timed that just perfectly. He was able to flatten himself out on the ground. And that's what I say about a lot of outfielders. Now watch how his body just flattens out. Where with Alex, who's in the infield, he pops straight up.
Caleb had been 0 for 7 in batting 151, and now tonight a walk and 2 singles, and that base hit got a piece of Masterson. You know, another thing about that Sizemore dive as well is that diving forward, as you said, but he get his glove almost chest high as opposed to turning the glove down as you talk so often diving. He had that's kind of awkward catching the ball the way he did.
It kind of makes that arm pretty stiff, and you can really jam that elbow into the turf. Where you saw that ball back through the middle, hit Masterson right on the foot. But see that thing on the end there that says Gold Glove winner. He can do some things that other guys aren't able to do.
Yeah, but he only has 2.
Well, he's missed a couple of years. I think that's one of the beauties of getting to the major leagues is that we all are taught to field a certain way when we're coming up and play defense a certain way. But as you get more athletic into this game, then all of a sudden you develop your own style. And it may look odd to the normal person, but if you can develop it and make it work for yourself, then that's what makes you different than anybody else.
Matt Trainer has struck out, popped out to second, and now 0 for his last 10. 3 balls, no strikes. And now walk. So 2 outs and nobody on, a single. And a walk to Trainer. Tim Belcher, former Royal, and he led the Royals in victories 1996, 1997, and 1998. This is his second year as pitching coach for the Indians. And while he chats with Justin Masterson, we remind you that the next time you want to catch a Royals game, head to StubHub, where you'll find the seats you want and the freedom to choose where you want to sit. StubHub is the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Kansas City Royals. Three walks and a hit batter given up by Masterson. Remember, he only had 4 walks in his first 3 starts. That was 20 and a third innings.
You know, Ryan, that was a pretty good visit by Tim Belcher right there. He can sense that maybe Masterson's not quite right, but you got 2 men on base, and he just wants to really get him focused on this next hitter.
And the next hitter is Alcides Escobar. Masterson has gotten him to ground out twice. Oh and 1. Royals scored 2 in the first inning. They did leave the bases loaded. Since then, they have only stranded 2. Way outside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, it takes a lot of athletic ability by Santana behind the plate to be able to jump into the other batter's box and take this pitch that's really just being jerked across into the next batter's box. So he's really anticipating that direction.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Remember, we were talking about Royals no-hitters, and you just missed the no-hitter that Nolan Ryan threw against the Royals, and that was the only no-hitter against the Royals until 2008 when John Lester threw a no-hitter against KC. The next day, Justin Masterson got his first major league win against KC. He has a 4-2 lead as we head to the 7th here tonight. Fox Sports Kansas City broadcast booth. Look for these special edition Frank White Pepsi Max cans at your neighborhood Hy-Vee. On Saturday, April the 30th, Frank will be at Hy-Vee in Gladstone from 11 a.m. to noon for a special meet and greet. So stop by, say hello to Frank, get a free can of Pepsi Max, or as we like to say, get you a can of Frank. So Luke Hochevar back to work in the 7th inning, down 4-2. He began the game with 5 perfect innings. And then Michael Brantley, who bats now, opened the 6th with a single. And the Indians turned that into a 4-run inning. Luke Hochevar had 2 balks, including balking in the tying run. And we were telling you that inning that in Luke's first 117 professional outings, minor leagues and major leagues, he had 2 balks combined, one in the big leagues, one in the minor leagues. Brantley has 5 hits in the series. Just missed outside, 3 balls, 1 strike. So Luke right at 100 pitches, trying to go at least 7 innings in 3 consecutive starts. He's also trying to win in 3 consecutive starts. He's going to need some help from the offense. And if he would accomplish that, the last time he won 3 straight was at the end of June and into July of 2009. Still 3 balls, 2 strikes. Brantley will be followed by Matt Laporta and Jack Hanahan, and then the top of the order. Leadoff walk to Brantley. Next year, the Royals have the 2012 All-Star Game here at Kauffman Stadium, and you can secure your seat to that game with season tickets. And when you buy 2 season tickets, you get 2 free, starting at just $7 per game. For details, call 816-504-4040 or go to royals.com/2012. Royals thought that Brantley might take off. Brantley with 3 stolen bases so far this year. He has been thrown out once. Last year he had 23 stolen bases in the minor leagues and the big leagues combined. The year before that he had 50 stolen bases. 2 balls and no strikes on Matt Laporta. After Brantley singled to end the perfect game, Laporta doubled him home, and then Laporta scored the tying run on the second balk of the inning, committed by Hochevar. Three-0.
Well, with Brantley on first, Ryan, Luke's trying to speed his delivery to the plate, and I think sometimes that'll also hurt your command to the plate, because you're focusing more on your controlling the running game than making that pitch to the plate.
Wow. Even Laporta thought that was a strike. He still thinks it's a strike.
Yeah, we take a good look at it here, and he wasn't going to leave until Joe West said leave. So he felt it was a strike. So he's getting ready for the next pitch.
So 2 walks to begin the 7th. A Chevy call to the bullpen for the Royals, and Tim Collins will face Jack Hanahan. 5 innings, 5 perfect innings for Luke Hochevar. He gives up 4 in the 6th, and he's out without recording an out in the 7th. So Tim Collins on for the 10th time. His first 7 were very good. Didn't allow an earned run, and then he's had some trouble in his last 2 appearances. He allowed 4 runs to the Indians in the 10th inning on Monday. And then he had that game that Luke Hochevar started on Friday against the Seattle Mariners on a very cold night. Hochevar pitched deep into the game. Bullpen coming in late. Collins and Soria had trouble throwing strikes, but the bullpen hung on. Hanahan bunts up the third base side and foul. Hanahan is grounded out to first, grounded out to second. Is ground out to second base in the 6th. Set up a run with a runner at second base and nobody out. Now the Royals bring the corners in after he shows bunt on the first pitch. And takes down and away, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Now, if you're a pitcher that's a pretty good fielder and gets off the mound well, a lot of times in a bunt situation when you know they're going to be bunting, a lot of times you throw an off-speed pitch. And then you know the bunt wants to go to third. He wants the third base from the fielder's ball. You throw an off-speed pitch. It gives you a little more time to get yourself in fielding position rather than throwing the fastball.
And there is the breaking ball, and Hanahan wanted nothing to do with that. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And this is one pitch that I think is always there for Tim Collins when he wants it. I know he wants to establish his fastball a lot, but that's a dynamite curveball, and he's got a changeup to go with it.
Royals still think he might lay one down. The corners are still in. Not bunting. And Collins overthrew that one. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, a number 9 hitter. And his job tonight hasn't been to drive in the runs. It has been to set up the runs. He got the job done in the 6th. And now with Brantley at second, Laporte at first, trying to move them into scoring position for the top of the order. And Collins backs off as Escobar made a move for the bag, and he was out of position. Brantley and Escobar, buddies from the Brewers organization. Joel shared that with us on Monday. Curveball is roped up the right field line and all the way down into the corner. Brantley scores. Laporta stumbles coming around third, and he will still score. The Indians have taken a 6-2 lead in the 7th inning after going 5 innings tonight without a single base runner.
Well, he comes back with the curveball. This one stayed up and it stayed middle in, and Hanahan was able to pull his ball down in the corner. You know, Frank Kirk can do nothing but get this ball back in as quickly as possible. As you see Brantley scoring, and Laporta hit that bag wrong. It could have been disastrous right there, but he regained his balance and scored.
Both of those runs are charged to Luke Hochevar. Still a runner at second base and nobody out. Inside to Grady Sizemore. Sizemore is popped out, flied out, grounded out. Two and 0. Get the feeling that the crowd here tonight, and maybe you and I can include ourselves, they're just stunned. The ones that were dreaming as they were watching the game, thought they might see a perfect game, if not a no-hitter. And Luke didn't just fall into some good luck. I mean, he had his A game for the first 5 innings.
Well, he really did. I mean, we're sitting here watching the zeros go by, and obviously you don't want to mention that no-hitter, until the first hit is put on the board. But, you do find yourself drifting right along with what he's doing, and you're getting excited as the game gets deeper. But it was such a just a drastic turn.
And now 3 walks in the inning. 2 given up by Luke. They have both come around to score, so he gives up 6 runs in 6 innings. And now the 2 runners on, the responsibility of Collins, and now Asdrubal Cabrera bunts foul, trying to move Hanahan to third and Sizemore to second for Chu and Santana. Bunted out in front of the mound. Collins only takes a look at third and throws over to Getz. So second and third, and now it sets up a lefty-lefty Collins and Shin-Soo Choo. Shin-Soo Choo was already a .647 hitter. That was his average, not his slugging percentage. That was his average against Luke Hochevar before the game began. And then tonight, 1 for 3, and one of his outs was a line out to right. He doubled in the go-ahead run in the 6th inning and then scored the 4th run. Infield in for the Royals. And Choo looks at a fastball for strike 1. We were talking about Jim Colburn earlier, one of the Royals that has thrown a no-hitter. Jim Colburn signed Shin-Soo Choo out of South Korea when he was the Pacific Rim scout for the Seattle Mariners. Grounded to Keela. He'll look at the plate and step on the bag.
This is a very good play here. This ball is really hit hard. And Keela makes a nice play. He's heads up looking home right away. And he's right there by the bag to make the tag. This is a curveball that just didn't have the bite to it. And Choo really put a good swing on it. But Keela made a nice play to his left.
Carlos Santana takes very high, ball 1. A walk, a ground out, and a strikeout for the Indians catcher tonight. One and one. Curveball slipped out of his hand. 2 balls, 1 strike. Three and 1. Indians had nothing. No runs, no hits, no nothing in the first 5 innings, and then they've scored 6 runs in the last 2. Loaded up for Travis Hafner. Five years ago, and it's crazy to think it's been that long already, but the bases loaded with Travis Hafner coming to the plate was not a good thing. He hit 6 grand slams that year, which tied the major league record. He has 11 grand slams in his career. Don Mattingly in 1987 had 6 grand slams for the Yankees. And CLE at KCA is just starting to loosen up in the Royals bullpen. Bases loaded, 2 down. Fastball is high and away.
Well, that's been the one thing with Collins lately, is just to being able to command his fastball, and most times it's been up out of the zone. And I think just mainly maybe working above maybe a comfort zone. We always say what's the maximum a guy throws, which might be 94, maybe 95, but what's that comfortable zone where he can get the ball in the strike zone on a regular basis. And I think he may still be trying to find that out.
Four walks in the inning, 2 have come around to score. One ball, 2 strikes. Rafael Perez still warming up in the Indians bullpen, and this is another long inning with the Indians at the plate. We might not see Masterson in the bottom of the 7th. Kevin Schenk telling me that Justin Masterson has thrown 15 pitches in the last 50 minutes. So as the temperature is getting colder, his arm is getting colder. And the Royals probably get a look at the Indians bullpen when they bat in the bottom of the 7th.
Yeah, Manny Acta probably didn't like what he saw in the last inning. After Masterson sit for a long time, he came out and gave up a hit and a walk and had a couple men on when he came out. So he probably figured, hey, this is even worse. So it's time to make a move and get him out of the ballgame.
You know, just curious, looking at the record book, I mean, 11 grand slams, that sounds like a lot to me. I don't know about
you.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
You know what the record is? 23.
In one season?
No, in a career.
Oh, in a career, okay.
Lou Gehrig. And right behind him was Manny Ramirez. He had 21. Curveball, buckled Hafner. No grand slam tonight. But the Indians lead by 4. Has 2 hits and a walk, hoping to break a slump, and he has the defensive play of the game, brought to you by the Home Depot.
For outstanding play, running on 2nd and 3rd, and he just makes a great play to his left on a hard hit ball by Chu to prevent the runner from scoring.
The Home Depot doing more on defense. Well, Masterson will come out for the bottom of the 7th inning. 91 pitches. He has thrown about 15 pitches in just under an hour because of 2 long innings. The Indians have batted 17 in their last 2 trips to the plate. So a lot of sitting around for him on the bench. He gave up 2 runs in the first inning, and the Royals were happy with that. I mean, you get 2 runs in the first inning against a guy who is off to one of the best starts in the major leagues, and you're happy to have that. But you go back to having the bases loaded after those 2 runs scored, and the Royals were unable to add to that. And that's more painful now because the Royals have not scored since, and they've watched Cleveland score 4 in the 6th inning and 2 more in the 7th. And now Chris Getz takes a leadoff walk. So Masterson goes back out, but you figure his leash is a short one. Rafael Perez was warming up in the Indians bullpen the whole time the Indians batted in the top of the 7th inning. So maybe Masterson gets Alex or a Melky Cabrera, and then once you get into Alex Gordon, you go to the lefty. We'll see. Four walks, by the way, for Masterson in 6+ innings. He had 4 walks in his first 20 1/3 innings before tonight. He also has hit a batter.
Yeah, the one thing you worry about is just more he's at such a arm angle that the release point, it has to be consistent for his ball to work the way it wants to work. So if he has trouble finding that consistent release point, and most times when he's gotten in trouble tonight, it's been he's overpitched to the outside to right-handed hitters. So just getting back on that groove might be tough.
1-1. Gets runs, and Cabrera fouls it away. Here's the final tally tonight in the Sprint You Call It, and your favorite play at the plate this year. 58% going with the one last night in the 7th inning, Alex Gordon to Brian Pena. Jeff Francoeur to Matt Trainer on opening day is second. Alex waiting on deck, Billy Butler behind him. Three balls, 2 strikes. Probably don't see Masterson this inning if the Indians don't get the 2 runs in the 7th. But I guess you give him a chance with a 4-run lead. Hit very hard but foul by Cabrera.
Well, you still have to be careful because you're only working with 4 runs, and you get a couple of walks and a base hit, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Back-to-back walks. So Masterson has walked more tonight than he did in his first 3 starts combined. And now Manny Acta comes out with the hook. So it'll be Rafael Perez in the Chevy call to the bullpen to face Alex Gordon with 2 on and nobody out. Seventh inning, they have 2 on, nobody out for Alex Gordon, who is the subject of tonight's Miller Lite Taste Greatness moment.
Alex continues to swing the bat well. This is in the first inning. This hits a line drive over second base. This ball goes all the way to the wall to score Melton Rivera in the first inning. Alex cruises into third base with a triple.
So a 14-game hitting streak, 14 RBIs. And now he gets Rafael Perez. Opponents, and we're only talking about left-hand batters, are hitting .111 against him this year. But lefties have been gradually getting better against him as the years have gone by. Perez came out of nowhere. The league knew nothing about him when he got to the big leagues in '07. And lefties hit .145 against him in '07. So he was a lock to come out of the bullpen and knock the lefties down. The next year, lefties hit .222 against him, so a little better. In '09, they hit .421 against Perez, and last year .308. So the league figured something out about Rafael Perez, and he's trying to reestablish himself as a dependable left-handed setup man. 2 on, nobody out. And the pitch is down and away. Alex has faced Perez 11 times, and he's gotten on base in 7 of those 11 plate appearances. 2-0. 2 hits, 5 walks.
And when you look at those 5 walks, it looks like that even though he's left-handed, it looks like he's able to see the ball pretty good out of his hand. And so far in this at bat, he hasn't offered at anything out of the strike zone.
2-1. The walks hurt the Royals in the top half of this inning. The Indians got 2 runs on 1 hit. There were 4 walks, and 2 of those walks came around to score. Into left center field, Brantley and Sizemore coming together. It's Brantley, and Alex is 1 for 4. So Perez comes back to get Alex, and that's the only man that he will face. Manny Acta's back out, and with Billy Butler coming up, it will be Vinny Pestano. Week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Joey Votto and the Reds head to St. Louis to take on the Cardinals in a showdown between NL Central rivals. Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week at 3 p.m. in high definition. Vinny Pestano. He will inherit 2 runners. Chris Getz at second base, Melky Cabrera at first. Pestano only allowing a 158 batting average. Very tough on right-hand batters with his arm angle. He appeared in the game on Monday night, pitched 2/3 of an inning. He faced Alcides Escobar and Mike Aviles. Got a ground out and a strikeout. Getz walked, Cabrera walked. Rafael Perez came on and got Alex Gordon on a fly ball to left field. That pitch has a lot of movement, drops down, and it rides up and in and spun Billy around.
With that lower arm angle, Billy's going to have to hang in there, and these are the guys that he can somehow get inside the ball and drive it back through the middle.
2 balls, no strikes.
Billy looked like he was taking all away on those first 2 pitches, realizing that the Royals need base runners at this point.
Now, when I say Vinny Pestano, where do you think he would be from with a name like that?
California. No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. Where's he from?
He's from Newport Beach, California. I mean, I was thinking New Jersey or something like that, you know?
Wild guess.
Line to right field, and Chu is there. The ball is not carrying to right field at all. Getz runs back to the bag to tag, and he beats the throw. That's a dangerous play. You don't want to make the final out at third base, especially when you're down by 4, but Getz got a good read, and runners at the corners for Francoeur.
Well, Billy did a good job driving the ball. He goes halfway, where here you got to go back to the bag, and you got to be at the bag when the ball is actually caught. And this play won't be as close to as it was at third base. So you figure your run is not that important a run. So if the ball drops, you still can score from second base.
And Pestano gets another right-hand batter, Jeff Francoeur. Want to know? Francoeur has a 10-game hitting streak. RBI single in the first inning. He is 1 for 3. Two and 0. The Indians got back-to-back walks in the top half of this inning. They both scored. The Royals with back-to-back walks in this inning. And now they're at first and third with 2 down. Francoeur jumped back, but Joe West called that a strike. Three and 1. Bases loaded. So the tying run comes to the plate with 2 outs. The Indians have walked the bases loaded. Masterson walked Getz and Cabrera. Now Pestano puts Francoeur on. The Royals' patience at the plate is rubbed off on Jeff Francoeur, who has never been known for his walks. But that's his 5th walk. Back in 2006, he didn't get his first walk of the year until his 136th plate appearance.
Well, a lot of times the philosophy of the hitting coach can really help a hitter become a better selective hitter at the plate, and knowing that the Royals need base runners in this this is a situation. You got him, and Pastano really hasn't shown that he can throw consistent strikes. So you might as well let him get himself in trouble by not swinging the bat.
Royals have improved their walk totals dramatically, and with it their on base percentage. Coming into the game, Royals with the third best on base percentage in the league as a result of the 5th most walks. Tonight the Royals have walked 6 times. Mike Aviles has homered this year. That was back on opening day against the Angels. Now he bats with the bases loaded and 2 down. Slider outside for ball 1.
He just picked on a high fastball and drove this ball in the bullpen right here. This is the type of pitch that Mike can hit, so he just got to make sure that the pitch he selects is not running back in on his hands.
With Pastano's arm angle and with that slider sweeping away, you could see where that would be trouble for Aviles. And he's faced Pastano 3 times, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, Pastano would have to leave it up and in the middle for Mike to be able to do something with it.
Boy, he got the pitch up and down the middle. Good swing, just didn't make solid contact.
That's his pitch right there. I mean, that's the ball that he doesn't miss very often. And you can only judge by the arm angle that the ball was still on its way up when Mike went to swing at it.
Slider got the inside corner. Royals get 3 walks and they leave the bases loaded. Scoreboard presented by Panera. Boston wins. That makes them 6-11, still in last in the East. Detroit beats Seattle by 1. Tampa Bay, after a slow start, they're back to 500. Meanwhile, the White Sox have lost 7 in a row. Baltimore beats Minnesota. Minnesota 6-12. The Yankees beat Toronto. And it's the Angels leading Texas there in the 9th inning. Those 2 teams were tied for first with an 11-6 record, the same record the Royals have. CLE AT KCA has not pitched in a week. You have to go back to Wednesday afternoon in Minnesota, the last time he was on the mound. He'll get Orlando Cabrera, Michael Brantley, and Matt Laporta. If you weren't with us earlier, Luke Hochevar opened with 5 perfect innings. And it was no fluke that he accomplished that. He had all of his pitches right on the mark. And the Indians only hit 2 balls hard in those 5 innings. But they scored 4 in the 6th. And then 2 in the 7th. They batted around in the 6th. They sent 8 to the plate in the 7th inning. All 6 runs charged to Hochevar, although 2 of the runs came around to score after he was out of the game. Cabrera is 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Three balls, 1 strike. Hit hard up the middle, and that's past Escobar. Indians have the leadoff man on in the 8th inning and for the 3rd straight inning. And that brings up Michael Brantley, and he put an end to Hochevar's no-hit and perfect game bid with a single leading off the 6th inning. Went to second base on a balk and scored on Matt Laporta's double. And then Brantley, leading off the 7th inning, walked and came around to score. 0-1.
That could be the theme of this game, is walks after 5th inning. Those walks always lead to extra pitches for the pitcher and always lead to extra runs on the board. It's almost like all of a sudden after the 5th inning, there was no command in the game. Everybody, both sides were wild and walking guys, and the Ross came up on the short end.
Justin Masterson, who's had great control this year. In his first 3 starts, he walked 5 and hit a batter, but the Royals were only able to turn 1 of those into a run. No double play as the ball popped out of Teixeira's glove. They hit the force, and Cabrera's out at second base.
Ball gets on that pitcher pretty quick, and Teixeira just really kept the ball off his face, and the ball dropped right down by his feet, and was able to get the lead runner at second base.
So 1 on, 1 out, and now Matt Laporta, who put the Indians on the board for the first time with a run-scoring double in the 6th inning, and then he scored the tying run on a balk. Luke Hochevar had 2 balks in 1 inning. Laporta walked and scored in the 7th.
Ryan, those pitchers, infielders can come out and take ground balls, outfielders can take fly balls, but you can't simulate a ball off the bat back to the pitcher. I mean, when you hit them to the pitcher, you're trying to make sure they're perfect. You don't hit them as hard as you should, and they get in the game, and all of a sudden, bam, here it is right here. So they probably are the most fortunate guys when they can make a play like that than anybody on the field.
And when you do those drills, they know the ball's going to be hit right to them.
They know exactly where it's going to be, right?
Up the left field line. Aviles to the railing, and it's in the second row. It was 56 degrees at first pitch, and the temperature has dropped, as you would expect, but the big difference between tonight and last night is the wind. The wind was coming out of the northwest, so it made it feel a lot cooler than the lower 40s. And tonight, the flags are just barely moving. Shallow right center. Francoeur wants it, but he's called off by Melky Cabrera, who has priority in the outfield. 2 away. Remember, you can take your group out to Kauffman Stadium and you will save big. Groups of 20 or more get a significant discount compared to single game ticket prices. So if you'd like to bring that group out here, call 816-504-4040 or go to royals.com/group. Outside to Jack Hanahan, who hit a 2-run double last inning after failing to get a bunt down. In the 6th inning, with a runner at second base and nobody out, he hit a ground ball getting the runner to third, and that runner scored on a balk. Two balls and no strikes. Close play. Telling you, last inning, Michael Brantley last year between the minor leagues and the big leagues had 23 stolen bases, but the year before that he had 50.
Well, he definitely knows how to steal bases, and the reason you throw over there, you try to get him to go back head first and maybe try to take a little steam out of those legs. But you know, when I was on first base, the pitcher threw over there more than twice. I called timeout. You know, they just want to keep getting back out there because they just want you to beat your legs down so they can take maybe a step from you going to second base.
Chatting with Sandy Alomar Jr., longtime Indians catcher, 1990 American League Rookie of the Year. He had a very good career, but what would that career have been without the injuries? And catchers' knees take a pounding as it is, but he had 2 surgeries on his left knee. He had, or make that 2 surgeries on his right knee. He had 8 on his left knee. Lined into left field, and Hanahan has his second hit.
Yeah, great family history in baseball.
The kid a chance to see his younger brother go into the Hall of Fame.
And I played against his dad, Sandy Alomar Sr. So it'd be kind of neat to go home and talk pro baseball all the time. That's kind of, I always wondered what they felt like, you know, the Rifkin brothers and their dad when he was managing the Orioles and the longtime third base coach for the Orioles.
Into center field. Melky is back, still back, and onto the warning track to bring it down. The Indians leave 2 to the bottom of the 8th, 6-2 Cleveland. Find the new Ford you're looking for at thoroughbredford.com. And by Steel. Are you ready for a steal? After the game, it's Boulevard Royals Live. Let's get a preview from Joe Goldberg.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Hoping for a good crowd out at Rivals and hopefully a Royals comeback as well. When this game is over, we'll talk with Paul Splittorff about Luke Hochevar's night. So good, and then it falls apart so quickly. We'll talk about that, the extension of some hit streaks, and perhaps CLE AT KCA working his way out of a season-long slump. Highlights, reaction, and much more coming up on Boulevard Royals Live. Ryan?
Joel has Split told you about his near no-hitter?
Well, he's had a few, and of course, you've heard many of the stories about one in particular probably with Milwaukee. But I thought with all the talk that you guys had tonight about the challenges of working out of the stretch after having gone all night pitching with the windup, perhaps his one-hitter back in August of 1975, August 3rd, 1975 against Oakland might be the most interesting. He started out that game right here at then Royals Stadium, and he retires Bert Campaneris, then issues a walk to Phil Garner, a single to Claude L. Washington, and then he retired the next 26 batters he faced. Didn't need to worry about it the rest of the time. That's the defending world champion Oakland A's, a 5-0 victory, and one of Split's handful of one-hitters, guys.
Thataway, Split.
Outstanding.
CLE AT KCA, Matt Trainer, Alcides Escobar against Joe Smith. Is trying to get the game to Chris Perez. Right now a 4-run lead. So it is a non-save situation. But we might see Perez anyway. He has not appeared yet in this series. Smith pitched an inning and a third scoreless in the game on Monday. The Indians won that game 7-3 in 10 innings. The Royals evened the series by winning game 2 last night. Brantley goes into left center field. That's the first time Keela has been retired tonight. One away in the 8th inning. And now Matt Trainer, who has walked, struck out, and popped out to second base. The baseball world wants to know, are the Indians for real? Are the Royals for real? Can they hang in there for the rest of the season and contend in the Central Division? And of course we'll have to wait and see about that, but we'll get a pretty good idea of how these two teams match up as they are in the middle of a stretch where they will play each other 7 times over 11 days. A 4-game series here that'll conclude tomorrow. And the Royals are off to Texas for 3 and then Cleveland for 3.
Well, you never know what September is going to bring, but right now you have to be pretty excited on both sides as the start that your team's gotten off to, and it should create some excitement in the, as far as the fans go. I know that when you go to spring training as a manager, you try to sell a certain philosophy to your team, and Ned's philosophy was be aggressive. That's going to be our identity, and they do it all spring, take it right into the season, get off to a great start. So you just got to continue to build from that.
Two different ways of looking at it, the two different managers. Manny Acta has been building it up, saying this is great for the Indians and it's great for the Royals. Well, Ned Yost has been trying to downplay it. At least that's what he's portraying. Around here, though, it doesn't matter if it's April the 20th. I mean, the Royals are 11-6. Well, that's headline news in Kansas City.
If I'm in a uniform down there and I'm in first place in April, whether they think I'm going to finish last or not as a team, I'm happy to be in first place because it's a heck of a lot more fun to wake up, and it's a heck of a lot more fun to go to the ballpark, and the people you meet as you move around, it's a heck of a lot more fun to talk to them.
But I think Ned Yost's perspective in a bigger sense is, let's not get too excited about 11-6 right now. Every game is important. Every series is important. So you don't just get excited for the Indians because they're in first and the Royals are second. And you fall into that trap of having a letdown when you face a team that's in last place.
Well, you hope that doesn't happen, but you know, you go out, you try to win the series. If you can win enough series during the course of the season, then you're going to be in pretty good shape as the season goes along. So I think it's still, I don't know how you celebrate these wins and how you celebrate this start, but you got to find that happy medium in there where you feel good about yourself as a team.
A quick inning for Joe Smith with 2 strikeouts. Chevrolet play of the game on defense.
Well, he does, and then against Micah Beal, if he comes in and dives head first, it makes an outstanding play. That's why he's got 2 gold gloves on the shelf. He looks like a guy that's really happy to be back in uniform playing the game after missing so much time.
He had a bone bruise to his left knee. That's what first put him on the disabled list last year, and then had surgery, but not just any surgery, the microfracture surgery, where they go in there and drill holes into the knee to get the knee to bleed and kind of try and regenerate cartilage. And so that's a much longer recovery than when a guy goes in for an arthroscopic knee surgery, maybe clean up a bone chip or a piece of loose cartilage. As Asdrubal Cabrera has his second hit, and for the 4th straight inning, the Indians have the leadoff man on after going the first 5 innings without a single base runner.
The micro fracture surgery. And that, so the bleeding regenerates cartilage?
I think that's what they try to do.
I could use some of that. Just don't want to go through the pain. I left my cartilage on AstroTurf.
In San Francisco?
Right here in Kansas City.
Well, I remember a couple of years ago you were playing in that Legends game, and everybody out there for the most part was acting their age, except for Frank White, who was moving around a little better than most guys his age. Stretched a single into a double, made a couple of good plays on defense, but then paid the price for the rest of the season, getting up and down the stairs here at the ballpark.
Yeah, the elevator became my friend after that. As a mind, that's why I'm letting my mind make dates my body can't keep. You know?
Cabrera moves up to second base. Trainer got tangled up with Shin-Soo Choo, but Shin-Soo Choo was no longer in the batter's box.
We take a look at this. He does a good job blocking the ball back out in front, and Choo really just doesn't know which way to go. He's trying his best to get out of the way. And if he'd have probably stopped right there and Trainer run goes into him, that's probably interference at that point, I would believe.
2 balls, 2 strikes. That moves the runner down to second base. So a productive out for Shin-Soo Choo. And Carlos Santana coming up with a chance to put the Indians in front by 5. Two walks, a strikeout, and a ground out for Santana. No balls, 1 strike.
Now the Royals have brought the infield in. They don't want to give them any more runs here. So Teixeira's got to try to get a ground ball and try to hold the runner at third base.
And he drops that into center field, and it is a 5-run Cleveland lead. 3rd run driven in for Santana in this series.
Teixeira leaves a changeup up in the zone. And they got in on Santana just a little bit, but he was able to get it out over to Drane and infield, right out in center field for an RBI.
When the Indians came to bat in the top of the 6th inning, the Royals had a 2-0 lead. Frank, what if I told you that the Indians were going to end up with 7 runs and 10 hits tonight?
After 5?
After 5.
I'd have bought you dinner.
No way. I mean, they had nothing going against Hochevar in the first 5 innings. Now Travis Hafner, who stands in now, he lined to right for the 2nd out of the 5th inning. That combined with Shin-Soo Choo's line out to right in the 1st inning. Those are the only balls that were hit hard in the first 5. The Indians had no answer for Luke at all. But then Michael Brantley led off the 6th with a single before the inning was over. They sent 9 to the plate. They batted 4 or plated 4. They added 2 more in the 7th and now 1 in the 9th. And the Royals still haven't scored since their 2 runs in the bottom of the 1st inning. Fouled back over our heads. Hey, there you go.
He's pretty excited. What's the score? He's just having a ball.
Literally.
Yes.
Hafner's out of a small town in North Dakota, but he played his college ball at Cowley County Community College in Arkansas City, Kansas. He played for Darren and Dave Burrows. And while Hafner was there, Cowley County went to the JUCO College World Series. Remember a player by the name of Junior Spivey?
Yes.
Played with the Cardinals. Junior Spivey was on that team. Travis Hughes also made it to the big leagues. He was on that team. They actually won it all in 1997. to the right side. Can't quite get it. And Santana will go first to third. And now that gets away. But Teixeira is exactly where he needs to be. Hafner will move up to second base. No further advance for Santana. So that'll be a single for Hafner. And he goes to second base on a throwing error by Jeff Francoeur.
Yeah, that's one of those plays right here. Right, you see Chris just misses this ball. It gets out in the right field. Francoeur charges the ball aggressively and makes a one-hop throw to third base. And he was able to get by Aviles. That's one you gotta kind of keep in front of you right there.
That's not a bad throw.
Well, you can see Francoeur is not very happy about that.
You know, it looked like possibly that maybe as Santana was sliding in, that his helmet made contact with Aviles' glove, or at least got in the way. Let's watch the very end of this, the slide, and Aviles is reaching for the ball and might have got Santana's helmet, which didn't allow him to fully extend and receive that throw. There's a better angle. Yep. If the helmet's not there, maybe he has a better chance of making that play. It skipped right over the umpire Chad Fairchild's head and almost hit third base coach Steve Smith.
I think it might have hit in the back of the helmet. That's wow.
So the infield in with one out. And one hop to second. No contact play. Getz throws out Orlando Cabrera. So second and third and two down. Cabrera is 1 for 5. Royals will have the top of the order in the bottom of the ninth. Chris Getz, Melky Cabrera, and Alex Gordon. And the way Michael Brantley is swinging the bat, this is not a bad idea.
It seems like everything he swings at's hit hard.
Even though it's an intentional walk, it is the 6th walk surrendered by the Royals tonight. So they're loaded up for Matt Laporta. Colorado defeated San Francisco earlier today 10-2. And the reason that matters is because the Indians and the Rockies were tied for the best record in the big leagues. Colorado now has moved to 13-5. The Rockies at the moment 12-5. Down and away, ball 1. The Indians lost their first 2 games and were beaten badly by the White Sox. They gave up 15 runs in game 1, 8 runs in game 2 at home. But then they went on to win 8 in a row. And even though they lost to the Royals last night, they've won 12 of their last 15. 2 balls and no strikes on Laporta. Last year, Manny Acta had the youngest team in the major leagues. And in spring training this year, every single non-roster player in spring training was from the Indians minor league system. There were 10, and 7 of the 10 had been drafted in 2008, 2009, or last year. Popped up. Aviles goes into foul ground. And that's the inning. The Indians get 1, and they take a 5-run lead in the bottom of the 9th. Have scored 7 unanswered runs. It'll be Tony Sipp in the bottom of the 9th inning. He's off to a good start. 8 games in the league, hitting .103 against him, and he will get at least 2 left-hand batters. Chris Getz, a lefty, Melky Cabrera, switch hitter, and then left-hand hitting Alex Gordon. So Sipp trying to hand Justin Masterson his 4th consecutive victory. He went the first 6, faced a couple of batters in the 7th, gave up 2 runs. Rafael Perez, Vinny Pistano, and Joe Smith have gotten the game to the 9th inning. Getz has grounded out twice. He's been hit by a pitch, and he is walked. Down and in, 1 ball, no strikes. 2-0. Two balls, 1 strike. Tony Sipp, once a 45th round pick, so not a guy you figure would get to the big leagues, out of Clemson, where he was also an outfielder. He is not seeing the strike zone the same way that Joe West is seeing it.
Well, he showed a little frustration. Didn't let Joe West see him, though.
And another walk. That is 7 walks given up by the Indians. The Royals have only been able to turn 1 of those walks into a run.
Well, you can get an idea. On probably 3 out of 4 of those could have easily been strikes.
Joe West, your thoughts?
He's not ready to leave.
Melky walked in the first inning, came around to score on Alex Gordon's triple, and then he walked again in the 7th. Two innings where the Royals really wish they could have done more. The first, they scored 2 runs against Masterson, who had a 1.33 ERA, but they left the bases loaded. Masterson walked 2 in the inning. And then there was the 7th when the Indians walked 3. That's driven to deep left field. Brantley will not run it down. Getz is going to be waved around third base, and he will beat the throw. That's a 3rd double of the series for Melky Cabrera.
Well, this pitch comes down and in. He really dropped the head of the bat on this pitch. And this ball didn't take long to get over Brantley's head, who can run, and just short hops up against the wall. Now it does a good job here getting a relay throw in. And this play is fairly close at home plate. Yeah, you can see Chris Getz maybe slide on that play there. But that hitter, that next hitter's got to be the one to direct him at the plate.
I had as much fun watching the umpires adjust to that play as anything else. You know, you think the umpires just stand around and make calls at their particular bases, but they have a rotation as well. And on that particular play, third base umpire Chad Fairchild was responsible for what happened in left. Paul Schreiber stayed at second. Joe West, the home plate umpire, runs up the line in case there's a play at third. And you might have noticed on the throw to the plate, that was first base umpire Angel Hernandez who was there if there was a play at home plate. One and 2 on Alex. So there's a third base umpire seeing what happens out in left field. There's your home plate umpire. And if there was a play at the plate, which there was, that's the first base umpire, Angel Hernandez.
The only guy that has to be careful is the third base umpire going up to third base. Make sure he stays out of the way of the runner.
You mean the home plate umpire?
I'm sorry, the home plate umpire.
Chad Fairchild, his responsibility is to go out into left. Make sure a catch is made, a catch is not made. Maybe the ball bounces over the wall. A slow roller to short, Cabrera, and a good tag at first base by Laporta. So just like his idol Omar Vizquel, as Drupal Cabrera makes a nice play with the bare hand.
This is a ball that's really rolling really quite fast to barehand this ball right here, but Laporta does a good job coming off the base. So what you don't like to see on a ball going that fast, and you got a runner on second, and you come in and barehanded like that, and if the ball gets by, that runner's going to score. But, you know, Alex was too close to the base to really avoid this tag where he could maybe slide to the outside, and he just luckily that he was able to walk away without any type of injury, because he was clearly off balance after that tag.
So Cabrera at third, one away. And now Tony Sipp and Billy Butler. You know, one last thing on the umpires, and normally you're not watching the umpires during the game except for the home plate umpire or the base umpire where there's a play. But every now and then you'll notice that before a play is made, the umpires, just like a good player, they start to think ahead of what might happen. And they've got signs for each other. And you'll notice the home plate umpire will point to the first base umpire, who will point back to him, will point to the second base umpire. They start talking about, or a reminder of what rotations they're going to go with depending on where the ball's hit.
Well, I think they almost have to do it, because you can go a long time without runners being on base and just get everybody in that good frame of mind. And you see it a lot in spring training when you're only working with the 3 umpires, and the rotation is a little bit different. So it's a little bit easier to rotate with 4. So they've been rotating ever since the minor leagues. But sometimes with 2 umpires, they've got to rotate.
Manny Acta out to tell Tony Sipp, don't make me go to my closer. 2 balls and 1 strike to Billy Butler. If Billy reaches, that means the tying run is on deck, and then it's a save situation for Chris Perez. 3-1. At the moment, it appears to be a very hitter-friendly strike zone. Full count.
No, regardless of you know how umpires come around in spring training, they tell you about the strike zone and what they're going to try to call, but I think it's very difficult to get 2 guys to see the same thing. I mean, I think some guys can be off a little bit, in, out, up, down. I know they make a good effort, but it just doesn't always work that way.
As Drupal Cabrera makes the play, Billy is 1 for 5, and Cabrera is back to third, and that keeps the tying run in the hole. Jeff Francoeur stretched his hitting streak to 10 games with a 2-out single in the first inning. That scored Alex Gordon, gave the Royals a 2-0 lead, and it looked like they were off and running, but they have not scored, did not score until this inning. Meanwhile, the Indians with 4 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, and 1 in the top of the 9th. Oh, 0-2. And on the follow through, it sounded like Francoeur may have gotten Carlos Santana.
Probably right in the top of the head. Anytime you take the helmet off, start scratching the head, that smarts pretty good.
Donk.
Makes you wonder, the old time catchers, used to just turn their cap around backwards.
Oh,
I mean, sometimes they get hit in the head.
Well, how about that little button that was on top of the cap there? What if you hit the button just right?
Oh, my goodness.
Deep to left field. Brantley is all the way back, and it's a long two-run home run for Francoeur. That is his third RBI tonight, so he takes over the team lead with 15 driven in this year.
Well, we can look at this line. This is a no-doubter right here. Francoeur gets his fastball middle in, and he drives this ball deep in the left field. And that's when he can definitely kiss goodbye, because he definitely got the bat head through this ball, and this ball jumped out of the ballpark.
So the Royals are down by 2, but now they have to face Chris Perez. Down by 5. Melky Cabrera doubles in a run. Jeff Francoeur hits a 2-run home run. The Royals are down by 2. They only have 1 out to work with, and they're facing Chris Perez, who has not allowed a run since August 8th of last year. So 26 consecutive scoreless innings. He is 15 out of 15 in save opportunities over that stretch. And the opponents, since last early August, are hitting .086. 1 ball and 1 strike on Mike Aviles. Aviles is 1 for 4 with a first inning single, and a check swing should end the game. So the Royals get 3 in the 9th inning, but the Indians win it 7-5. We'll be right back.